Hi students, it's Mr. Routhier. We're done with our first little Choco Break game, and what we're going to do now is we're going to try a little practice. I just want to show you how the physics engine works in Fusion. It's pretty neat. I've done physics stuff in other video game software, and it's very, very complicated. That's my cat. Can you hear my cat? It's not too bad. There's a few little things you got to do, and then I think it'll work very nicely. So let's give this a try. We're just gonna practice putting. We're gonna take a box and we're gonna make it drop on the ground, and we're gonna use physics. Okay, so let's crank up your software. Start your Fusion up. This is all very pretty to look at. If you like it, you can see it every time you turn the software on. What I did is I just checked right here, display on startup, and now I won't see this every time I turn it on. So let's create a new application. So you just want to click on that little piece of paper. And remember, if you can't find something, you've got your view, toolbars, and then you can turn your toolbars on and off as you need to. Okay, look good? Okay, so here we got our application, and here's your first frame, and we're just going to use one frame. I'll double click on it so I can look at it. And let's put a first we want to put a physics engine object off to the side. So if we click insert, new object, and look down here for physics, starts with a P, and there's our engine. So I'll just click on that, say OK, and I'll put that over here. Okay, off the screen. So this is going to give us gravity, which is going to be very, very cool. Okay, next we need something to drop. Let's put a box on the screen. So I'm going to, instead of inserting up here, I'll just right click on the frame, and there's another insert object. And let's go to graphics and animations, and we'll just put an active object on the screen. And I'll just click on the screen, and there is my little box. Okay, let's rename this so it says box. Here it is right here. Rename, or you can hit F2. Box. Very nice. Now, one thing with the physics, with the objects, you want to make sure that the hotspot is in the center. The hotspot is this little tiny eye thing. If you just double click on the box, you'll see that little eye? That's reviewing your hotspot. If you click on that little eye, you can see that little circle is right in the middle. And that's where it's supposed to be. We can talk more about hotspots later. And you can see in here, it's a whole little Photoshop room where you can go in and do cool things. We won't get into that right now. So just hit OK. And there's our little box. Isn't that nice? Okay, next thing we want to do is we want to add the ground. So to add the ground, we're going to insert another object. Right click, insert object, and again this is going to be an active object. We'll say OK, and this we're going to put at the very bottom. So now we want to stretch this thing out, so what I want you to do is just single click on this, and notice that it gives us all these little dots. Well, this is to transform it and to stretch it out, so let's just drag this thing out. That looks so lame. Really? I wonder if there's any way we could just fill that in. That looks awful. Yeah. If I click on the rectangle tool, maybe we can just hold it down, and I'm holding the mouse down. And I'm just covering the whole area. Did that work? That didn't work. Now let's go to the fill tool. And we'll just fill everything in with a color. So pick a nice color. I'll just fill everything in. Fill, 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 fill. And use this thing to slide over. Alright, looking good here. Alright, now you got to make sure the center of the object has the hotspot. So click on the hotspot, and you can see it's right here in the very middle. Okay, so hopefully that wasn't too confusing. Let's say okay to that. So there's your fabulous ground. That looks pretty lame. Okay, sorry how lame it looks. Okay, now let's rename this thing. We'll right-click on this thing, and we'll rename it to ground. Okay, now we are happening. Okay, so now we need to tell the computer that these are actually physics objects. So we'll start with the ground. We're on the ground. You can see we've clicked the ground, and now we're going to go to the properties. And again, if your properties disappear, I don't know why sometimes they disappear. It's kind of weird. But again, go to your view, toolbars, and here are all of your toolbars. Okay, so we're going to click on the little guy, the movement guy, and we'll go down to the type of movement, and this is a background. This is a physics background. So we'll do that. Important hotspot of an object with a physical movement must be positioned at the center of the mass. And I'm pretty sure we did that. So, okay, we'll say okay again. And let's go down to, let's see. This thing is going to be an obstacle. So when stuff hits it, it'll get in its way. So under obstacle, choose obstacle. Next, collision shape. This is a box. So we'll call it a box. And that looks good. All right, let's go up to our box, and we'll click on that. I'll click it in the workspace. That makes sure that we're in the right thing. There's our box, and here's our properties. And again, remember, if you lose anything, view, toolbar. I know everybody called me over and said, I can't find this, I can't find this. You just go to view toolbar. All right, so now I'm on the box. I'll click on this little guy. And we're going to change the movement type to physics static movement. Okay, that looks good. What else do we need to change? Its initial direction. What direction is this thing going to go? And we will just set it so it randomly goes in any direction. So if you remember, we're just going to hit this little icon here, select all, and now it will pick between one of these 32 directions when it starts. The shape of this thing is a box. So let's do collision shape, box. And let's give it a nice smooth rotation. Okay, so we're looking good. The next item on here is where we set up all the collisions and stuff, but I am actually kind of running a little bit late, and I thought, well, let's just do half the lesson, and then we can finish the rest of it tomorrow. If you test this thing, the gravity works, but we don't have a any collision setup. So like I said, we'll do that tomorrow. So if you do you run your frame, you can see it falls down, but there's no collisions. Okay, so let's save this, and we'll call this, I don't know, physics test, whatever you want to call it, and we'll finish it up tomorrow. Thank you for doing your work. See you guys later. Bye-bye.